So today we'll be working in my workbook called The Family of Abraham. This covers Genesis chapters 19, verse 30 through chapter 25, verse 18. We have already worked on chapters 1 through 5 from the creation of the Moab and Ammon states to the time that Abraham passes his wife off as his sister to Abimelech, to when Isaac is born and Ishmael is sent away to the well of Beersheba, where um, Abraham and Abimelech make a peace treaty. And then we've even gone through the sacrifice of Isaac, or the attempted sacrifice of Isaac on Mount Moriah, and how it compares to the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ. Now we're going to go into chapter 6, the death of Sarah. Okay, so the death of Sarah, Genesis 23, 1 through 20. Genesis 23, 1. Sarah lived to be 127 years old. She died at Kiriath Arba, which is Hebron, in the land of Canaan, and Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. How old was Sarah when she died? 127. This would make Abraham 137 years of age, Isaac 37 years of age. Interesting note, she's the only female in the Bible whose age of death is mentioned. She's the only female who has that distinction. Where did she die? She died in Hebron, or Kiriath Arba. According to the verse from Joshua below, where did Kiriath Arba get its name? Joshua 14:15. Hebron used to be called Kiriath Arba after Arba, who was the greatest man among the Anakites. So that's where Kiriath Arba got its name. Can you figure which name was first, Kiriath Arba or Hebron? Well, it would be Hebron is second. Kiriath Arba is first because it's been called Hebron perhaps up to this day. Looking back at Genesis 13:18, what two physical items exist in Hebron? Well, I haven't been properly preparing for this. I believe it's an altar. Hold on here. Hebron. Okay. Let's see. Let's see here. I believe Hebron, is that the place where the tamarisk tree is? Okay. Are the great trees of Mamre and the altar of the Lord that Abraham built? Sorry, I wasn't totally ready here. Okay, number 6, complete the sentence. Abraham went to mourn for Sarah and to weep over her. The way this is written, it is possible that Abraham was away, perhaps herding his flock when she died. Where was Abraham prior to this story? He was on the Mount Moriah with the attempt possible sacrifice of Isaac, which didn't happen. The scriptures continue. Then Abraham rose from beside his dead wife and spoke to the Hittites. He said, I'm a foreigner and a stranger among you. Sell me some property for a burial site here so I can bury my dead. Now we come to a negotiation style that is still used today among the nomadic tribes of the area. Who did Abraham speak to? Spoke to the Hittites. The Hittites, or Heathites, were the children of Heth, who was the son of Canaan, son of Ham, son of Noah. Genesis 10:15. How does Abraham describe himself to the Hittites? I'm a foreigner and a stranger among you. Where is Abraham from? He's from the Ur of Chaldees. So do the math. How long has Abraham been in the land of Canaan? How old is Abraham at the death of Sarah? He's 137. at the death of Sarah. How old was Abraham when he entered the land of Canaan? He was 75 years of age when he entered the land of Canaan. Therefore, the amount of time he has lived in Canaan is 62 years. Yet he still considers himself a foreigner. The writer of Hebrew below states Abraham was looking forward to being a citizen of what land? Hebrews 11, 8 by 10. By faith, Abraham, when called to go to a place he would later receive as his inheritance, obeyed and went, even though he did not know where he was going. By faith, he made his home in the promised land, like a stranger in a foreign country. He lived in tents, as did Isaac and Jacob, who were heirs with him of the same promise. For he was looking forward to the city with foundations, whose architect and builder is God. So he's looking for his heavenly citizenship, really. What does Abraham want to buy from the Hittites? He wants to buy a burial site for his wife, actually. The scriptures continue. Genesis 23:5. The Hittites replied to Abraham, Sir, listen to us. You are mighty prince among us. Bury your dead in the choicest of our tombs. None of us will refuse you his tomb for burying your dead. What do the Hittites call Abraham? You are a mighty prince among us. What do they offer Abraham? The choicest of our tombs. Find the Hittite land on the map and circle it. Okay, so let's see if we can circle the Hittite land. Well, sort of. Let's see here. And shape, no fill there. So that's the Hittite land. And there may be another Hittite land. You see it? I see it too. So let's see if we can circle that too. So both of those are Hittites, yeah. Hittite lands. At least it looks like it to me. This is how negotiations would start. First, the buyer states they want something from the seller. Then the seller agrees to listen and are open to a sale, which is what is happening here. Although this seems generous, in truth, this is how everything starts, not necessarily specific to Abraham nor to his situation. It does say, however, that relationships between Abraham and the Hittites were agreeable. Number 4, does this indicate that the Hittites already have places set aside to bury their dead? Certainly seems so based on the scriptures. The scriptures continue. Genesis 23:7. Then Abraham rose and bowed down before the people of the land, the Hittites. He said to them, If you're willing to let me bury my dead, then listen to me and intercede with Ephron, son of Zohar, on my behalf. So he will sell me the cave of Machpelah, which belongs to him and is at the end of his field. Ask him to sell it to me for the full price as a burial site among you. How did Abraham show respect for the Hittites? He bowed down to them. Who owns the land that the cave of Machpelah sits on? That's Ephron. Is Abraham asking to negotiate with Ephron or to have the Hittites intercede for him? He's actually asking the Hittites to intercede for him. What is the price that Abraham is willing to pay for the cave? The full price. Note, Abraham doesn't just call this cave a burial place for Sarah, but what does he call it? He calls it burial site, let me bury my dead. Let's see. Does not call this cave a burial place for Sarah, but what does he call it? A burial place for my dead, I guess. A burial site. So, I guess that's what I mean. Let's see, what do I mean? The burial site. Okay, it's not burial place, but a burial site for his, and it will be for his family as well as Sarah. The cave of Machpelah isn't just a burial place for Sarah, but for many others in the future. Abraham will be buried there. Isaac and his wife Rebekah will be buried there. Jacob, Isaac's son, will be buried there, and Jacob's first wife, Leah, will also be buried there. So the scriptures continue. Genesis 23:10. Ephron the Hittite was sitting among his people, and he replied to Abraham in the hearing of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of his city. No, my lord, he said, listen to me. I give you the field, and I give you the cave that is in it. I give it to you in the presence of my people. Bury your dead. Again, Abraham bowed down before the people of the land, and he said to Ephron in their hearing, listen to me, if you will. I will pay the full price of the field. Accept it from me so I can bury my dead there. Where was Ephron at this time of negotiations? He's sitting with the Hittite people. Notice they are all at the gate of the city, so that would be Hebron itself. What did Ephron originally offer to Abraham? Both the a cave and the field around it. Again, this is customary. It would have been rude for Abraham to have accepted his offer. Does Abraham accept the gracious offer? I will pay the price of the field. Accept it for me. He offers to pay the price of the field, and as well as the cave. Okay. So the scriptures continue. Genesis 23:14. Ephron answered Abraham, listen to me, my lord. The land is worth 400 shekels of silver, but what is that between you and me? Bury your dead. Abraham agreed to Ephron's terms and weighed out for him in price that he had named in the hearing of the Hittites, 400 shekels of silver, according to the weight current among the merchants. Under normal negotiations, the seller would offer a high price and the buyer would offer a much lower price, and they would haggle how they came to an agreed price. This all would be in front of witnesses. What price did Ephron suggest to Abraham? 400 shekels of silver. This normally would be too high a price for the property. It is part of the negotiations to start high and the buyer would counter low. Instead of countering, what does Abraham do? He pays the full price. A shekel is a weight measurement that was used among the merchants of the time. Who was available to hear the transaction take place? All the Hittites around Ephron. Why do you think that Abraham did not negotiate? I would say he didn't negotiate because there was nothing too valuable than the place that he was going to place Sarah, and he just probably thought it was rude to negotiate for a place to bury his wife that he loved very much. How do you think Ephron felt? Amazed that he got so much silver for the property, or saddened that he wasn't able to play the game of negotiation with Abraham? I would say, first of all, he's amazed that he got the full price, but not so much saddened that there was a negotiation, but probably amazed that he got the full price that he wasn't expecting. Genesis 23:17. So Ephron's field in Machpelah near Mamre, both the field and the cave in it, and all the trees within the borders of the field were deeded to Abraham as his property in the presence of all the Hittites who had come to the gate of the city. Afterward, Abraham buried his wife Sarah in the cave in the field of Machpelah near Mamre, which is at Hebron, in the land of Canaan. So the field and the cave in it were deeded to Abraham by the Hittites as a burial site. Not just the cave, but what was deeded to Abraham, both the field and all the trees within the borders of the field. Do you think all the extra land was because he paid so much for it, or why not? I do. I think Ephron, in order to save face, gave him extra to balance the amount of money that he received. Does the fact that all the Hittites were there as witnesses also keep the transaction fair? Yes, indeed. I think that's true. Did Abraham actually bury Sarah in this cave of Machpelah? Yes, he did. So a current note, the cave of Machpelah, or the tombs of the patriarchs today. The cave of Machpelah has an ancient history dating back to the earliest man and woman in the Bible. Adam and Eve are said to be buried in the cave, the first 4 couples to be buried there. Beside the first of 4 couples to be buried there. Beside Adam and Eve, the 3 patriarchs and matriarchs of the Jewish people, Abraham and Sarah, Rebekah and Isaac, and Jacob or Leah, are buried there as well. These 3 holy couples gave birth to the Jewish people and brought the awareness of God to the world. Since biblical times, the cave of Machpelah has been a place of prayer, meditation, and study. The cave is respected as a gateway to the Garden of Eden, where our prayers have special potency. Hebron was the capital of the tribe of Judah. King David began his kingship here. From Hebron, he was crowned king of Judah 7 years before he was crowned king of Israel in Jerusalem. Around 2,000 years ago, Herod, king of Judah, built the tomb structure atop the cave complex. The temple in Jerusalem and the cave of the patriarchs were built in a similar style, using colossal Herodian stones. However, the rocks around Hebron used to build the Machpelah building are much harder than the soft limestone around Jerusalem used to build the Temple Mount. Even without the use of iron rods or other structural aids, the Machpelah building has stood and been in use for 2,000 years, a miracle of endurance through centuries of wars and earthquakes. And all this comes from the Hebrew Fund. Now, the concept of Adam and Eve being there, I don't know if that's true. And the gateway to Garden Eden, I don't know if that's true or if that's legend, of course. But the rest of them are written in the Bible. So so now we come to the end of the chapter, the death of Sarah. Let me get my notes again, just in case there's something I don't remember. Abraham wanted the cave for a burial site for his wife. Number 3 is burial. 4, the transaction for the cave happened at the gates of the city of Hebron. 8. 5, Sarah died in Kiriath Arba, also known as Hebron. 7, who was the specific Hittite that owned the cave? That'd be Ephron. 8, the cave of Machpelah is known as the tomb of the patriarchs today. 10, Ephron stated a high price of 400 shekels of silver. 1 down. Not only did Abraham get the cave, but the field and all the trees within the borders of the field. Is that correct? Yeah. Tree. 2, the cave was called the cave of Machpelah. 6, the people or tribe that owned the land Abraham was interested in were called the Hittites. And 9, Sarah lived to the age of 127. That's the end of this chapter. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.